first, we're going to be joined by Annie Figgenshoe. So most big businesses, thinking through what Dawn's talking about, most businesses struggle to keep their marketing engaging once they move just beyond that website. Annie fixes this by helping brands apply StoryBrand to their blogs, their emails, their videos, so you don't sound like everybody else. As I mentioned, Annie's a StoryBrand certified guide. She's the owner of Downstage Media. And you might have noticed this down in the chat. Annie was an improv. She had a 15-year career as an improviser. So I'm sure she's got more than just some good content up her sleeve. Let's kick it over to New Jersey. Annie, excited to hear from you.
Thank you so much, Luke. Thank you very much. And thank you to Angela and Dan, they gave me some words in the chat. We're going to be talking today about your content. I'm going to set the scene for you. So imagine it is, it's 8:30 at night, right? And you just finished everything. You finished dinner. And you're sitting on the couch, you propped your feet up, you just pulled up your phone, you just unlocked it, and then ding dong, you hear the doorbell ring. So you get up, go over, doorbell, open it up, and it's just this weird, I know the picture hanger. I know, Corwin. I know. I gotta just ignore that, Corwin. It's chaos over here. You know what I'm saying? So I know it looks like I have this little thing right here. Anyway. So you answer the door. There is a faceless brand. Maybe it's just their head and they have a picture hanger on top. And they are saying to you, hey, can you buy my thing? And you're like, wait, I'm sorry. What? Who are you? What are you? Who are you again? And they're like, yeah. Remember, you gave us your email 7 years ago. We didn't want to bother you. We didn't want to give you we don't want to bother you and send you a lot of emails and stuff, but now we actually have something that we want to sell you. Can you please buy it? And you're like, no, thank you. This is who you do not want to be. You don't want to become this kind of a brand. So this is why content marketing is super important. With content marketing, then what happens is you say, hey, I'm going to just leave something on your doorstep. I think it's helpful. I'm going to leave it here, and then I'm going to come back next week. I'm going to give you something else that I think is kind of helpful, and I'll come back again. And if there's something else that we think would be good for you because it might solve an issue that we're seeing a lot of people have right now, I'm also going to let you know how you can do that. But you can always you could always ask me at any time. I will stop bringing this to you, right? So that is the idea here with your content, is that you want to be delivering content regularly to your audience, content that is going to help them solve a problem. So that way, when you do reach out to them for a sale, they don't ask this question. And this is the very important Janet Jackson principle. This has been studied for years. Well, at least since she came out with this song in the Control album in 1986, which is, what have you done for me lately? This is what your audience is thinking of when you show up, whether it's in their inboxes or when you are showing up in front of them, asking them for a sale. That's the question that they're going to have. Yes, Dominique, you want to be like Janet Jackson. Okay, so who am I? I'm Annie Figgenshoe. I am the owner of Downstage Media. I have been certified in StoryBrand since 2021. I'm going to talk about how some of the principles that I've learned in StoryBrand have really helped in the content marketing initiatives that I've created for myself and for my clients. I also am one of the co-authors of the book, The Content Entrepreneur, that was written with Joe Polizzi. He's the guy who actually coined the phrase content marketing. And so I have a couple of guest chapters in that book. I was a professional improviser for 15 years, like Luke said at the beginning. And one of the things that I learned there, one of the principles that we always had, was to treat the other people like legends, the other people who are on stage with us like legends. And that's how I want you to think of your audience. That's how I want you to think of your customers, that they are legends. You are just setting them up. So when I was on stage, we would just set up the other people on stage with us to shine the light on them. And that's what you are going to do with your content. you want to make it about your audience. So you want to show up regularly and you want to make it about them. So oftentimes improvisers, we might use a certain framework so that way we could come up with a story in 20 minutes, right? So we can make a 20-minute musical right on the spot. So I have found it is way easier when you're coming up with blog content, when you're coming up with email content, when you're coming up with YouTube content, to have some kind of a framework that you're pulling from. Now, this doesn't necessarily have to be something incendiary and wild. It could just be a specific framework that you use time and time again. Every time that you sit down to create a new email, every time that you sit down to write a new blog post. And so I have studied Donald Miller and Marketing Made Simple. I've trained StoryBrand certified guides. And so I figured out how to use the StoryBrand principles of making your audience the hero and starting with a problem, and figured out the frameworks that you use for blog content, email content, and video content. And I'm going to tell you how you can get that in just a little bit. Now, once you've decided that you're going to create some kind of content marketing initiative, and once you've figured out, okay, yes, how you're going to create it and how you're going to create it quickly, then there's the idea of actually distributing it. You need to get it out there. So that way, once you get people's attention, kind of like Donald Miller was saying, you need to keep it. They may not necessarily be ready to pay you money yet, but they will be paying attention. They've raised their hand. And so you want to make sure that you are delivering content out to them. Because if you don't nurture these relationships, they're not going to come back. So I'm going to name names here. So one of the improv companies that I worked with was Chicago City Limits. Chicago City Limits was one of New York's longest running comedy revues, right? Robin Williams used to go on the stage, and so many other people that you've seen in shows all around. So we had a rule, though, by the time I got there, when they had kind of run out of steam and they'd run out of marketing budget and they've run out of bandwidth to create new stuff, where the rule was if there were more people on stage than in the audience, then they would cancel the show. There were only 5 of us on stage. It was me and 4 other guys. The amount of times that we canceled the show was demoralizing because they hadn't figured out how to collect the attention of the people who'd already raised their hands and that they were interested in us. And they didn't know how to come back. They didn't know how to nurture those relationships, right? So that's really important. Then you think about Hamilton. Hamilton didn't need to sell tickets, right? They were sold out for months and months and months. But what would they do on 2 show days when they had a matinee on Wednesday and an evening show on Wednesday night? When there were hundreds of people waiting in line for $10 tickets, they had their performers come out and do numbers from the show or do fun little bits just for the fans, just for people who wanted to hang out in the streets. And guess what? Those are the people that have helped keep that show running for 10 years. They would do monthly Hamel drops. They didn't need to do this. They were making money hand over fist, but they would come up with different pieces of content, different songs that they would release once a month, and oftentimes would have other people to then highlight other artists, other people involved, so that way they could get their show in front of more audience or in front of someone else's audience, right? So for example, you have Weird Al Yankovic doing a polka version of the Schuyler Sisters, for example, right? So it's that kind of a thing which helps you get in front of more people and help more people get in front of you, right? So blog appearances, like having people that you are quoting, ask people who are your colleagues, people who know this kind of thing as well, ask them for quotes in your blog. Ask if you can do a guest email. Ask if you can appear in someone else's videos, vice versa. By the way, StoryBrand, thanks so much for having me today. I do appreciate it. So just this kind of thing is what helps you get in front of other people and helps you bring in new audience so that way you can nurture it with the ongoing content that you have. So just keep it in mind that you want to be consistent with the content that you're doing. You want to be relevant to using stuff that making it about them. So using the piece framework, using the blog framework that I'm going to tell you how you can get all that in a second. But basically using StoryBrand frameworks so that way you can get that content out there that you know is going to solve a problem, that you know is going to make them the hero, and then distributing that stuff out. Side note, I create stuff for audiences. I don't make it for algorithms, but we are finding very much that when you create content and it winds up in a bunch of different places, then you wind up being the answer that comes up when people are asking on Google, when they're asking on AI tools, that your name comes up. You want to get your name in a number of different places. And so being in front of other people's audiences is a great way to do that. And making fun and engaging content is how you can help get people's attention and then keep it. So do not be that person who knocks on the door when your audience is just trying to relax at the end of the day. Make sure you're using specific frameworks so that way once you do create content, you can get it out there faster, and make sure that you spend the time distributing it. You can go to downstage.media/StoryBrand content marketing. You'll be able to see the frameworks that I use and I use with my clients for blog content, email content, YouTube content. And so that way you can get it out. But remember, your audience is always asking the Janet Jackson all-important question, what have you done for me lately? I'm Annie Figgenshoe. Thank you so much. Luke, I'm going to pass it on to you.
Annie, thank you so much. What have you done for me lately? You just delivered me 10 minutes of incredible content. We appreciate you.